Brandon, let's move on, though, from one bad team in the Big 12 last year to another team that only won one game last year. We're looking at the Baylor Bears. And the thing I want to ask you to start is this will be Matt Rule's second year, I believe, second or third year at the head of the Baylor Bears. In your mind, what does Coach Rule need to do to start the 2018 season on a better note than losing all your games, but only beating Kansas, which is it really a victory because you beat Kansas?
Well, I can already tell you that Matt Rule has started off on a really good note because his first full year recruiting effort, it brought in a top 30 class. So that's going to be something really good going forward for him. This Baylor team was plagued with so much controversy and so much crap and things outside of football. And now those are in the rearview mirror. And Matt Rule, I think, is very happy to be able to move on from that era and move on with guys that he knows are about Baylor football and are focused on Baylor football and being, hopefully, upstanding citizens for Baylor football, which I guarantee they will be. I think that that's first and foremost number one, and he's done that. He's come in, he's had a really good recruiting class, and now hopefully we're going to see the fruits of that labor. And again, it's been a bit of a difficult ride, and what I thought was interesting with what Matt Rule did last year is really he just played a lot of guys who he saw going forward with the program. You know, guys who weren't necessarily from the old regime. He was playing a lot of young guys. He was going with a lot of inexperienced talent. But now they've got a year of experience, or at least a couple of games of experience under their belt coming in here to year 2 of Matt Rule's rule. And I think we're looking at a Baylor team that could be solid this year and could be going to a bowl game if everything works out correctly. And the first thing that I would be saying to look at is watch for Charlie Brewer to come into his own this season. Because a guy who ended up the starter at the end of last season had some really, really good moments. And I liked what I saw from him. And I think we've got a quarterback of the future here for Baylor.
Let's put it this way, too, with quarterbacks, and this is not exactly a good thing. Since Bryce Petty was the starter for the Baylor Bears in 2013-2014, the Baylor Bears have had 6 now. Corey Brewer is going to be the 6th different starter at the position since 2013-2014. To me, the biggest thing this offense needs to do to win more games next year, don't turn over the football.
Yeah.
That's it. Like they were a plus minus of -14 last year. -14. That's not too good. I know what some might be saying. But Ricky, if the defense can get a little turnovers, that'll upset. No, just don't turn over the football, and you'll be fine.
-14, you can't put that on the defense.
And that was all, the way I look at it was they were all interceptions in my mind, because you're -14, you threw 14 interceptions. Now are we expecting Brewer to go out there and not throw a single pick? No, that'd be ludicrous. Who do you think he is? Tom Brady, who barely throws interceptions at the NFL level? The thing I think is if you secure the ball, and also with this year, you got to look at Matt Rule. This is going to be an interesting year for him, and you kind of touched on it, is do we see he implemented the culture year 1. Does that continue with the young players moving forward into year 2? That could do that, but will that necessarily be wins in the win column? And for me, the thing that I look at last year was you look at their out-of-conference games, and Liberty, you should have won that one. You lost that one 48-54. You should have won that one. You lose to UTSA, probably another one you wish you should have had because you only lost to them 17-10. Like, going into last season, those were 2 games that you and I were like, they should win them easily, even if it is Matt Rule's first year. You got to come into this year, you got to set the tone against Abilene Christian and then set the tone against UTSA. Those right there can be 2 easy wins, plus your easy win against Kansas, because I don't think that they're going to come into Waco this year and beat you guys. That, in my mind, you have a 3-win cushion, hopefully, coming into this year. It's just, what are you going to do against the rest of the Big 12 and Duke, which is your only other non-conference
quite honestly,
game?
Baylor could start 4-2 in their first 6. They could start 4-2 in their first 6, and if they do that, a bowl game in Matt Rule's second year may not be out of the question. You end the season with Texas Tech, I believe. That's going to be a toss-up for me.
On a neutral site.
So that, let's say that one could go to Baylor. There's 5, and then one more in the middle of the season. Is Iowa State on that schedule?
It's on the road, though. It's in Ames this year. Like, see, that's the thing is, you have to me, 4-2 in your first 6 games, you're happier than a pig in slop. However, you look at the games after that point, at Texas, not a chance. At West Virginia, I'll probably lean towards West Virginia at this point, because it is on the road.
But did you see what happened in that West Virginia game last year?
It was a tough one.
38-36, West Virginia almost let them come back. They were up 38-13.
So we'll put that one in the maybe pool. But right now, because it's in West Virginia, I might lean towards the Mountaineers. Oklahoma State, I don't think you beat them, even though it's in Waco. Then to me, it becomes Iowa State. Really, what Iowa State team are we going to get? Was last year a one-hit wonder, or was last year the beginning of something special for the Cyclones? That's basically how I feel with them. TCU, I don't think you'll beat TCU. And then Texas Tech, I don't know how to gauge them really this year in the win-loss column, because they're a team that's not just losing their starting quarterback from last year, but they're a team that went 3-6 in the conference, and they're a team that could be on I'm going to say upset alert for Baylor, to where if everything goes right, they could be in a bowl game this year.
Texas Tech is always going to be one of those teams that their offense under
Ryan Gosling.
I was going to say Ryan under Ryan. I almost said Ryan Reynolds. I knew that wasn't the right one. That wasn't the right Ryan. Under Ryan Gosling, it's always going to be a good offense.
Coach Gosling.
You always know it's going to be a good offense. That's never a question under Kingsbury's offense, but it's that defense and what they're going to look like. If they make strides, then I probably could put that one more towards Texas Tech. But Baylor too, if they stay healthy defensively, I think that they could have themselves a decent defense this season as well. I really think, though, what you said at the beginning. It's the turnovers.
Yep.
It is the turnovers. And it's in crucial situations. So where Charlie Brewer really seemed to have tremendous success was on 3rd and long. So he was 19 for 25, 216 yards, 3 TDs, 2 interceptions on 3rd and 7 or longer. You take away those interceptions, you make those conversions, you continue a drive. That changes things. You hold on to the football, running the football, and running back as another area, kind of right here. I think that's a kind of a big question. You've got 5 or 6 running backs on the roster, not necessarily sure which one you go with. But this is a team that has to be protective of the football. And if they're not, they're going to see another season like last year. They're going to fall into that same rut because they're not going to be able to move the ball, and they're going to be stymied. And as it always is, it's going to be a drive killer. And if you do that multiple times a game, you will not stay in the ball game.
Here's what I want to see this year if I'm a Baylor fan. I want to see at least 3 wins. The games we have to win, no question, are the first 2 against Abilene Christian and then also against UTSA, and we have to beat Kansas. We lose any of those games, I am pissed off. I am mad. Don't even come near me if I'm a Bears fan. However, the reason why I think in the end I'm only going to give them 3 years on the win, or on the year in those
3 years
games,
on the win.
3 years on the win is what I'm going to give them. No, 3 wins on the year is what I'm going to get them is because they have a very green team, and I'm not just talking about their football colors. They are a team that's going to be starting a lot of first and second year players because of everything that happened. So here's what I would want to see if I'm a Bears fan. 3 wins in those 3 games, and then the games we talked about, Texas Tech, maybe Iowa State, maybe West Virginia. If we lose, wins would be great in those situations. Maybe I'll throw in Duke and Kansas State as well. Wins would be great. But as long as we can make those games close, to where as a fan, I can feel like, all right, we had a young team this year, but this team hung with some teams, and we kept some games close. Next year, those guys get a year older. We bring in another recruiting class of Matt Rule. Next year is the year we really make a case of like, all right, we got our now upperclassmen leadership with those second-year players becoming third-year players, and now we make a run for a bowl game. I'm not talking Big 12 championship. I'm talking we make a run for 6 wins on the year and start to improve. Then that next year, if you do that and get to 6 wins next year, then the year after, you could be talking about, all right, let's go and compete for the Big 12 again. However, like we talked about with the Illinois segment, that's if everything goes to plan and nothing derails it.
Exactly. And what's going to help that is a guy like Matt Rule, who's known for coaching fundamentals, who's known for coming in and just, it's the basics, guys. You know, we're not trying to get too crazy with any schemes. We're just trying to play good, clean football. You know, whereas a Jimbo Fisher system is going to be very complex. It's very scheme heavy and got to be into the playbook. Like you're taking that sucker home and studying it every night. Not that you're not doing that with Baylor, but it's more of a we just have to go out there and play football and not turn the ball over and we're going to be okay. And if they can tighten up against the run defensively, you said it, there's going to be guys who are going to be younger. They're going to make mistakes. You're going to have to understand that that's going to happen. But if they can learn quickly on the fly, and guys who came in last year, who started last year, hopefully they are in a better position this season and can make more of an impact early on in the season, so they're seeing really good things happening at the end of the year.
Well, and the one thing that, and Baylor fans out there, let me know if I am wrong with this, if there was any news about it. I haven't seen any news about it. The one thing that's going to be kind of a hinge in that quarterback decision is Brewer's burned shoulder, where I'm reading right here, Rule revealed that quarterback Charlie Brew, who took over for the starter late last year, was limited in their spring practices as he was recovering from a shoulder injury and burn in his shoulder. So I haven't seen anything of any updates on that. In the fall, it'll be interesting to see how that develops, because let's say he does stumble because of that in the fall. Will that give an opportunity to an early enrollee from Arkansas, Gary Bohannon, give him an opportunity to be the starter for Baylor if Brewer is unable to go?
I haven't heard anything that's affected Brewer here at this point. Haven't heard anything that could keep him out. But Bohannon, a 4-star recruit, a guy who's very capable behind him. It'll be interesting to see if anything happens there. But I think, if healthy, I think Brewer's your guy.
Well, this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys expect from Baylor this year. Matt Rule's second year in Waco as the head coach. Let us know how many wins and losses you expect. Who are you excited for? Who are you not excited for on this Baylor team? Let us know down below in that comment section.